Hello, everybody.
I know, it's been a while. Sorry, everyone.
I know. Hello, world.
Our schedules are crazy.
We're such busy people now, post-cancer.
Yeah, so busy.
So busy. Not really. Okay, so we have decided to make this episode. Well, first, we want to dedicate it to a couple of friends of ours. One is a young woman named Julie, who Alex and I had the honor of meeting. Brandon unfortunately didn't get to meet her, but he will, I'm sure.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Julie. Julie is going to be having her transplant end of the year or beginning of next year, TBD. But she has a 10 out of 10 match already, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And we are with you, Julie. We're thinking of you and sending you all love and light. And then we also want to dedicate this episode to one of our other friends who is in the midst of her battle. And she will remain nameless for right now out of respect to her privacy. But we are thinking of her, and we know that her transplant is coming up soon. And again, just sending all sorts of positive energy towards her and her treatment.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about caregivers. And it's not to be mistaken by caretakers. Here's a little fun fact for you guys. Caretakers are people who work in funeral homes.
Is that
really?
Really? I
Yes.
never caretaker. Huh?
And I only got educated about that because we had caregivers for my mom when she was ill. And I remember one time a nurse and I said to my mom's nurse, I was like, oh, our caretaker is at home. She's like, just FYI.
Yeah, you
That
might.
is not. It's just something funny and
That's good
weird
to
because a
know.
lot of people say caretaker and it makes sense, but at the end of the day, it actually has a different definition. But so caregivers are who we're going to be talking about today. And okay, I'm going to prompt the two of you with the first question. And the first one I think that is I've gotten asked a lot post transplant and in recovery is how do people give care to patients? How can people provide care? How can they provide help? How can they be active for the patient? Because a lot of people who are in the network of the patient's friends and families might feel a little bit intimidated or overwhelmed and not knowing what to do. So I toss this to you guys. What was instrumental in either of your guys' cases?
Well, can I just throw up before I answer that question?
Yeah.
I think for caretakers, when you find out a loved one is diagnosed, it's a lot. A lot goes through your mind, and instinctively, you want to give everything to that person. You want to make sure that they're the focus, that they're happy. But it's important that as a caregiver, you want to yourself be physically and mentally ready.
Yes.
If you're not
Self-care.
physically,
Right.
if you're not physically or mentally prepared, and if you're, not in the right mind space, physically, mentally, you're not going to help your loved one. So I think
That's a
first
really,
and foremost,
really good point.
Yes, you want to be there, you want to focus on
Right.
the patient, but take time for yourself too.
Yeah.
Like that's important.
Yeah, processing your emotions, right? Because it's such an emotional roller coaster for everyone involved. But I agree. I think there's a tendency to want to do everything for the patient, and yes, there's a lot that you can do. But I think you're right. Like, it's almost like a burnout. You
Right.
could burn out really easily.
Yeah.
As a caregiver, and you have to be very careful to make sure you take time for yourself to,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because at first you're going to want to do everything. You want to get food for them,
right.
Whatever it may be. But that's going to, like you said, it's going to tail off, and you're
Totally.
going to start to feel the effects, and then that's when you really need to take time for yourself.
Yeah. I know that Mark when he stayed in the hospital. He didn't leave the hospital when I was there for like 2.5, 3 weeks straight. And finally, as I was getting closer to the end of getting released to go home, and things were going well, fortunately, he would go home to like do laundry or something, and then like he did spend a night at home. But I remember it was that first night that he didn't spend the night at the hospital, and I was very emotional about that. He was very emotional about that, and he was worried the whole time. But I think it was good that he could do that and see that like the next morning I was okay. And then when we got home, a few months after we were home, he went and he was very hesitant to do this, but he went on a camping trip just to like decompress basically from all the stress and worry about caring for me. And I was very glad and very encouraging that he did that, because I could see it in him. I was like, you need a break. You have been dedicating so much to me, but you need to take care of yourself. You need to go away, shut down, don't worry, like I will be fine, all that. So I agree. It's something very, very much important, as an important part of the process for just as much as giving care, taking care of yourself as a caregiver is just as important. Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Like, what do you think, what would be your advice to people when they say, how can I help? How can I help the patient? What would be your advice? What would you say to someone if they said, Alex, I have this friend, they've just been diagnosed, they're going to go through treatment, they're going to get a transplant, or whatever the medical path they go down. I want to be there for them, but I don't know what to do. Do you have thoughts for them? Do you have words of encouragement, or what do you think?
I think the most important thing that I appreciated when I first got diagnosed, besides my mom, who is my permanent caregiver, she was there by my side the entire time. And then my aunts and uncles and relatives that would come by, every so often when they would have a chance, and they would, and then all of my friends. And I think the best thing that I received from them was just their time and their patience and their feelings of compassion for me while I'm there, trying to cheer me up, and words of encouragement, and pictures. Those were really important. If you guys, when I was in the hospital, I was in several different, it was a long process. I was in several different hospital rooms, and every single one I would just, post up my walls with everything, like pictures and posters and drawings. Like I even remember I had a room where I requested everybody who came to visit me to, draw a picture and write me a message.
Right.
And, I that wasn't planned for me. I don't know how that happened. I just, I started putting things on my walls, and then everybody that came in, I was like, I want to see, after you leave, I want to still see your presence. I want to still have your presence.
Oh, I like
and
that.
message.
Yeah.
So it became a thing. Like every room I went to, I had people like draw me pictures.
Yeah.
And
That's
write me
cool.
messages, and that kind of stuff for me was the most, as far as just somebody wanting to give support to somebody who's in the hospital, because there's not really much else. You can't bring them food.
Right.
You can't bring them. I mean, it depends on how severe your treatment is at the hospital.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different degree of how much
Restrictions,
you can,
and
but
But because my initial chemo, I was able to, or people were able to bring in food.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So it just depends on your treatment and how severe.
Yeah. And if you can even eat, when I was going through treatment, it wasn't that they couldn't bring me food. It's just I couldn't freaking eat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
but I value just people coming over and
Just time.
their time, and
Yeah.
their presence. And
Mhm.
I remember one time I had a really bad spell of a headache in my first induction chemo. You know, it was like 7 days, and then you know, with a month of it in the hospital after that.
Right.
And I had these horrible headache spells where I just couldn't shake it. Like I wanted to like bang my head like on the wall.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy who was there with me. He's like, just bang your head, like, and he was there with me, like,
Right.
just shaking his head.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You shake it off," like, that enthusiasm and
Mhm.
that encouragement, like,
Mhm.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you remember stuff like that.
I think
Yeah.
so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to put it, because I think people are nervous. Well, no one really likes the hospital, so you don't really want to go and hang out there. But knowing if you have a loved one there or going through treatment, time is something that's like, yeah, just a visit is really special. You know,
Huge.
like it's so boring half the time
Mhm.
that you're just there.
Yeah.
And then also, it takes your mind a little bit off of either pain or nausea
Yes.
or diarrhea or whatever symptom you're going through, at that point. It gives you a little respite from that as a
Mhm.
patient, because it's almost like you don't even have to, as the caregiver or the person going to give care, it's like you don't even always have to go with, okay, I've got to entertain this patient. Half the time it was great that I was the one asking, like, what's going on? What's happening? What's new? What's happening in the world out there, And
Mhm.
it's just a nice respite of not having to think about your PICC line, the IVs,
Yeah.
all that stuff, and letters and cards.
Yeah.
As simple as that is,
It takes your mind off
yeah.
of what's
and
freaking you out.
right,
Right?
right, yeah,
It takes your mind off.
yeah,
Like,
because there's plenty of time during the day to freak out.
yeah.
Mhm.
Dude, just so you know, I mean, for people out there that, haven't gone through like a traumatic event like cancer, like once you get to the hospital and they say, okay, you're gonna have to be here for like 10, 15, 20, 30
Or
days.
unknown.
Or unknown.
Right?
And you have all these tubes and needles and all these plugged into you, and you can't, if you have like severe claustrophobia or anxiety, like
Yeah.
you literally can't walk away 2 feet from your bed unless
No.
you
Rip everything
rip
out.
everything out, which
Mhm.
a lot of nurses and doctors say they see all the time. There's people that just can't handle just
Right.
laying there in the same room, in the same bed, in the same clothes,
Right.
with no control over
What's happening.
what's happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
with that, you can see how important it is and how valuable it is when somebody from the outside comes in, and especially somebody it does something to your heart, it does something to your spirit, it does something for your friend or your loved one when you go there. And everybody's energy, when somebody
Yeah.
comes in, you could feel their emotions, I mean their feelings. You get goosebumps. It's not necessarily, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a vibe, it's a
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
And I personally believe that these kinds of feelings are healings, like for yourselves. It's good
Yes.
energy to give you more, to strengthen your cells, like all the cells in your body to fight what you're doing, because all your thoughts affect your cells.
Yeah.
Bad thoughts, bad cells. I mean, whether you believe it or not, like I'm 100% believer of that, dude. I've gone through it. I went through it.
Yeah.
Like, I destroyed my cells before I got sick with my terrible thoughts about life that I did before, and then now I'm like beyond healthy, recovered after going through what I went through, and it's all because of the power of thoughts, and your friends and your caregivers affect your thoughts when you come in to visit them or you say something to encourage them. Like, you're affecting what they're thinking when they're laying there in bed.
Yeah.
Right? You want them to think as much positive stuff as possible rather than, fuck, am I gonna die? Like, this is the worst. I hate this. Like, I hate, change it. Like,
And I think you're right. Like, it's just the presence
yes.
that they bring, the love that they're bringing
Not
to
presents, like
Right.
gifts.
Well,
But
that too.
those-
That
those
helps
too.
too.
Those help.
Yeah, those are, presents are
But
good.
presence and
Cash
your
money,
being.
no, I'm just kidding.
I think that half the time, my family. So my room always had like the max people
Yeah.
that they could allow in
Yeah.
there. I had my auntie, my uncle, my dad, my brother, a few friends, a few other aunties, a few other uncles, like depending on the day, rotating in and out, right?
Yeah.
Half the time we weren't even talking to each other, but just feeling
sitting
that,
there.
that they were
Mhm.
sitting
Yes.
there with me. I was like, okay, I just felt comfort
Yes.
with that,
My auntie and uncle would come and sit there for hours all the time,
Yeah.
and I didn't have that much stuff
Yeah.
to say to my auntie and
I
uncle.
know.
But, they would just, read a magazine or
Right.
chill or
Just
or
hang out,
chilling.
just chill,
Just their presence
just hang
being there,
out.
yeah.
normal,
Just their presence
just
is
to be as
very
normal as
comforting.
possible, yes.
Yeah, like
I'm not thinking about it, I'm just chilling.
yeah, and sort of having that consistency, I think, is important for patients.
Mhm.
Like, if you're a patient and you are maybe you don't have a huge family or a huge friend group, but just having a few.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to have 900 people waiting outside your
it's the
door.
quality, not
it's
the
just
quantity,
yeah, it's the
right?
quality, and it's the consistency of it too. I mean, my aunt was there every day.
Yes.
And she
Yes.
sat there and she would do her. I don't know if it was Sudoku. Oh no,
Yep.
she was playing Candy Crush.
Yep.
She'd play Candy Crush on her
Yep.
iPad,
Yep.
and then she'd order me lunch, and then
Yeah.
she'd order me dinner, and it was
Yeah.
just
They don't gotta be there.
they don't know. She
They don't
didn't
gotta
have
be
to.
there.
But she spent she literally took off time for work to do. I mean, she
Right.
did that. But
Yeah.
I'm just thinking back when I was in the hospital, like my poor mom. There was no.
There's no iPad.
no,
iPads.
your
Yeah.
mom had to literally just sit there,
She
Yeah.
had to read a book.
read a book or
I
a
don't even
magazine.
remember what she did to keep herself occupied.
Yeah.
But you guys talking about like friends and family coming over, I remember I was almost not
You must have been
embarrassed.
thrilled when your friends.
Yeah,
age,
that
you would
one
have been
I was
like-
happy to see my friends.
Yeah.
Two,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't like a sense of embarrassment, but like I wanted to show them that I was okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So mentally, I had to be like, okay, I gotta be up. I
Yeah.
gotta,
Interesting.
that's
show them
Yeah.
that I'm
that's
doing
a-
well.
Right,
So
right.
That's a expression of your character, because I think not everybody would want to be like that in
Some
your position. You know
well,
what I
like
mean?
the sympathy and,
Yeah.
but it was
I
more
felt
of
the same way though. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to worry.
yeah.
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know.
No, that's so good.
Yeah. That helped you probably physically
Yeah,
more than you
yeah.
could ever quantify, right?
Yeah, because I would get up, I would actually walk the hallways with some of them, which
and
I
that's
would
a
not
huge
have done.
thing. That's a huge thing that I think caregivers don't necessarily credit themselves with. Like it forced me to get out of bed
Mm-hmm.
and walk, because if I had someone there, I was like, okay, well, I'll take you on my little walk,
Mm-hmm.
even though I don't really want to go, and also the caregivers I had coming on a daily basis, they were forcing me to go on the walk. So it was like, okay,
My basketball coach would come.
yeah,
He's like, get your ass
yeah,
out of bed.
yeah.
You gotta
Time
be.
for the morning
yeah,
walk. Time for
yep.
your afternoon walk. You
Mhm.
know,
Wasn't wasn't there a time when you were like in a bubble when they couldn't?
Yeah, when I was getting my chemo right before my bone marrow transplant, I was in the whole like bubble
Yeah.
total
room.
isolation.
Yeah.
So when
Then-
people came to visit you, then that must have been a real crazy.
It was
memory.
cool.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it was cool for them because, like I said, like the
Cool for
wall
them.
was. Yeah, well, for me, I was just inside. I couldn't really do much,
Yeah.
but for them, it was like the wall that was all like the plastic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they would like put their arms into like
Right.
the
Oh,
they
sleeve.
really had the
the arm that
no
went
way.
inside, so the nurses wouldn't have to come in and
for
like
the
gown up.
babies, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Oh.
it was like an
Oh.
actual.
preemies.
Yeah, they put their arm into like the sleeve
my
and then put it
God.
inside and
they
then
hug
do whatever they
you,
have to
would you
do.
Walk up to the wall and then let them
Yeah,
hug you?
pretty much. Yeah.
That's funny.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Dude.
Wow, you were
I know.
totally bubble boy.
You gotta
Yeah.
like make a reenactment of that. You gotta
Yeah.
see that. Like,
I saw my
That would be
room
do
a
you have
couple years
pictures?
ago.
Do you have pictures?
I'll find one.
Yeah.
I have one of a couple of my
Please.
friends.
Bring us.
Yeah, I
some
wanna see
pictures.
this.
That's so
It's
cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
It
mean,
looks
not-
like it's
not as
from like
cool,
the
but
80s, but it was
The
only
memory, yeah.
Crazy.
yeah,
Wow.
20 years ago.
Yeah. So let us know, how was it like having caregivers? Like, how did caregivers affect you, like at that age? And you know, yeah, was it like mostly family, friends, or? what do you
The main
remember
one
about
was
it?
my mom. She was there every day for I don't know how long.
Yep.
I remember her asking me like, "Can I go home?" And I was like, "No."
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I got like
Stay.
emotional. But
Yeah.
she's like, "Okay,"
Yeah.
like, but then after I think maybe a couple months, a month, where I was kind of like,
Yeah, more stable.
yeah, I'm like, I'm just laying here anyways.
Yeah.
I'll let her go home and come back,
Yeah,
and then my dad would come.
right.
But a lot of the times, a lot of like friends after school would come, teachers,
Oh yeah,
um,
teachers.
That's so.
people
awesome.
from like the basketball community would come out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that I didn't know would come and visit me because they saw like in the newspaper that I was sick.
Really?
So yeah, just like the constant
Wow.
Yeah,
visits.
You just made me think
Yeah.
of something like when people you don't expect
Yes.
come visit you.
Yeah,
That's
That's
Yeah.
a really
too,
cool
right?
thing.
Yeah, it's like,
right?
whoa, like how'd you
So-
even hear about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, or you just don't ever, you didn't expect them to, like,
Mhm.
it was like, oh my God, that's so nice of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think I said it in my very first like the interview episode where there were a couple of people that would come in, like talk to me, and then I would look at my mom and dad like, "Do you know who that was?"
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "No, I thought you knew who that was." So, yeah,
That's
it's
crazy. That's
Mhm.
such a good point, though. Because
Yeah.
I bet people are like afraid to visit. Oh, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't want to,
Mhm.
barge
Right.
in or impose. But it's like
Exactly.
those are some of the best visits, huh?
yeah.
Because it's like
Exactly.
totally unexpected,
Yeah.
and it's just one of those nice surprises where you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, when you're laying there in the
Yeah.
hospital, any kind of these little
And they walk
pleasant
in, you're like,
surprises
oh,
are great.
yeah.
Yeah, now the best ones
Yeah.
is when they called beforehand and were like, "I'm going to so and so. Can I get you food there?" I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
yes, because the hospital food sucks.
Yes,
Oh my
yes,
God, it's so
yeah.
bad.
It's gotten
Yeah.
better.
Yep. I have
Oh, it hasn't
friends-
gotten better at City of Hope.
Oh, really?
Anyone who's
Well,
going
I
to
think
City
like
of
the
Hope,
hospital food that they serve to patients are like standard, disgusting.
yeah.
But at least at CHLA now they have that cafe downstairs. It's like,
No, some of the ones that got redone, like I know UCLA Reagan
uh-huh.
was like a relatively new hospital.
Their
They had
cafeteria.
a nice cafeteria.
Yeah.
City of Hope needs to,
Yeah.
Step it up.
if you're listening.
Sorry.
City
We'll
of
bring you
Hope.
food. Let us know. We'll bring you food.
Yeah.
But I think if anyone is questioning what to do,
Yeah.
I think the best thing to do is try to get a hold of a family member or someone who's there to
Right.
ask.
One of the point people.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
And ask.
Yeah.
But I also think you need to be more more proactive as a caregiver to say, as opposed to just saying, what can I do or what can I bring? Because a lot of times it's like, oh Jesus, I don't know. We're not thinking in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Say like, can I bring? Is there music that they're missing? Can I bring some books, puzzles, letters? You know, think of something. It doesn't have to be anything big, but think of something.
Yeah. Draw a picture.
Yeah, draw a picture.
Yeah.
Literally, say I have something I want to bring to their room.
Yeah. A lot of
Would that be
people-
okay? You know, that kind of stuff, as opposed to just the blanket. Let me know what I can do, which
Mm-hmm.
has all good intentions, but rarely gets answered.
Right. It's-
Rarely do you get someone saying, what can I do? And the other person on the receiving end saying, oh, well, actually, I need you to go to the grocery store for me and get milk and eggs
Yeah.
and stock my refrigerator when I get home because I'm at the hospital all day. Like, you're not going to get that kind of answer. So instead of asking that, just take a little time and think, maybe this person, maybe I can get them some fuzzy socks. Bring some new fuzzy socks to the hospital. I don't know. It's stupid small stuff, but like just having that little extra thought of it, I think makes a difference in the caregiving, I always kind of noticed that, like, some of my friends were very, they were really amazing in terms of, thinking of things to do without having to ask me. Like I got one of my best friends, she asked everyone in my family and other friends to write a letter, and then she compiled it all into a book. I think I told you guys that. And I took it with me. It was amazing. It's like things,
get creative.
Creative, yeah.
Like, don't just go to the store and buy a gift card.
Well, even if
I'm just saying, it's a. Like
it's just put a little thought.
Put a little thought.
Just sit there for a minute. Think, what can
the meaning?
What
means a lot.
What can I do? Yeah, that would really lift this person's spirits, because that's really what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be. There are caregivers like our main caregivers, right? The ones that we're going to interview later in another episode, where they can really talk about, for those who are going to be the main caregivers, real things like, you're going to need X, Y, and Z. I learned this, I learned that. But for the most part, a lot of the caregiving is just going to be more about lifting the patient's spirits, and seeing what you can do.
I feel like me and you and I, we had more of a similar type of experience with caregivers because we were older. But
Yes.
I feel like Brandon,
Totally.
Must
Totally.
have had a different type of
Absolutely.
vibe to his caregivingness that he received.
Yeah.
Mine was like, like 90% my mom, still probably like Brandon, but still, like it must have been different for you then. When you were younger, maybe you could say like what was really important for you. Because as an adult, like I don't want like games or anything like that, but that might be something that was good for you at that age, right? Like what like were gifts that would keep you, like
Entertained.
Yeah, entertainment and stuff like that.
Entertainment wise,
I mean, it's different too, though, because it was so long ago.
Yeah.
I was happy to have cable in the room.
Yeah.
We didn't have cable at home. I mean, that's how times have changed.
Yeah. What did you like look most forward to, like since you were already stuck there, like what gave you this, caregiving feeling, like from people, like what helped you the most? What gave you the most, support when you were?
I think, like you said, like the visits from friends, family, and my mom being there, most of the time was really comforting.
Yeah.
But then I realized that it was getting hard on her too. So
Totally.
that's when I kind of realized, okay, yeah, you
Well,
can.
she had your brothers too.
Right.
I mean, all simultaneously.
Yeah.
Do you ever recall like arguing with your mom while you were going through treatment, like just because you were frustrated?
No. Maybe when it was like time for me to get like my tutor, because I was like homeschooled.
You didn't like.
Oh
No,
my
so,
God,
yeah. So I'll be
you
like,
just,
no,
like-
just tell them that I'm not feeling well. Like, go away. I think that was the only time, but
Yeah.
like,
You should get a get out of homework pass for
Right?
that.
yeah. I mean, that's another story to tell.
Yeah.
But I think my mom, like, told people that my favorite animals are penguins. So
Oh, yeah.
after a while, people would come in with like stuffed penguins and
That's
stuffed
cool.
animals,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
cards. So like half of my wall, like on my bedside, were like cards, and then on the bed or on the windowsill, she would have like all the stuffed animals.
Oh,
up
that's
there.
a good idea. I like that.
Some of my friends, of course, basketball was like my life back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So friends would bring me like Nerf things to put on the door.
Yeah.
Like a little hoop in your room.
a little
with a
hoop.
Nerf ball. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. I would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, I would have
Yeah,
too,
so I think
actually,
just
thinking
finding
back
out like
to
the
that now.
small details, like the likes
wish
of the
list.
person.
You know what?
the
That's
interests.
that's actually a great suggestion to people because everybody has likes. I mean, unless you come across someone who like, I don't know, is just really difficult and doesn't like anything. But
Mhm.
like Hawaii was
Yeah.
a huge thing for you.
Yes,
Your
it
room was
was all over,
decorated
yeah.
with all, images of surfing, waves,
yeah.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Palm
and
trees, yep.
it doesn't necessarily even have to be likes. It can be seasonal. Like I was in the hospital at Christmas time, so people came and they brought decorations, like Christmas
Mm,
decorations, for my room. So it's like small things like that. Like I love that. The penguins are your favorite animal.
Mhm.
If there's patients out there that have certain likes or quirks or things
Yeah.
from home, or it's seasonal, like Halloween, they're in the hospital in October, or like you can kind of theme it out,
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
things. That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
That's a good suggestion.
I would have totally bought you a penguin
Me too.
if I was there.
I'm gonna
B.
get you a penguin for Christmas.
Yeah. Penguins. I
Are
don't
they
know
still
why.
Are they still your favorite animal?
Penguins, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And for some reason, I like anteaters too.
Anteaters?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, weird.
The
Zot zot.
Yep,
UC
I'm
Irvine.
an anteater. I graduated from UC Irvine. Yes.
That's
Yeah, I know.
funny.
Weird.
Wasn't there a cartoon back in the day with the anteater? Do you remember? Like,
I don't
maybe
know.
I'm just aging.
No, there was Arthur.
There was, right?
Arthur,
some kind of a cartoon.
he
that was an
he. It was
anteater.
a book.
Yeah. Okay.
Remember?
Something like that.
Wasn't it Arthur? There was like a series of books. Anyways, that's very off topic, but I feel like it was Arthur. Okay, so another thing.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What?
No. I was gonna if we're if I was gonna say there should be like things you shouldn't say when
Yes,
you're.
I'd like
you know,
that.
like
Let's
you
talk
know,
about
when
that.
When you go visit somebody in the hospital.
Yeah.
Or,
What
you know,
not to talk
some
about?
People, some,
Yeah.
some people came and
Well, I
said
think-
stuff in good heart. but
Right.
It actually,
And I think some people just don't understand social norms, etiquette, and also boundaries. Maybe
it's not really etiquette. I think it's more
sensitivity. Yes,
Mhm.
sensitivity.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were some of those examples for you?
Something like, oh, did you hear about the statistics of, survival rate of,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, don't bring up
Right.
stats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or, and not that I don't think somebody, like I said, people always
I think
have
they're
good-
trying to
they're-
relate.
People are always trying to give you what they think you would want, but sometimes you
Yeah.
gotta
think-
consider in the patient's position
Mhm.
what they do and what they don't want to hear.
One, what is that information going to do for you as a patient?
Yeah.
Like-
It's like I'm already in it.
You're already
like,
there. Yeah. You're already going
can
through
only
it.
do so
What are
much.
you What are
Yeah.
you going to really do with that info?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just something even more simple, just like, I don't know, did you hear about the mass shooting or the
Yeah,
or
keep the world
you know,
news maybe
keep-
to a minimum.
Keep when you go in and you take care of your of somebody that's sick, you want to just focus on
Positive.
positive. Just
Yeah. Leave negative stuff at
Yeah.
the door.
I think,
Yeah.
It's
I think
like-
one too that people tend to say is like, oh, I know what you're going through,
Yeah.
or
Oh.
because I've been really sick before. Not like they didn't have cancer, but They say,
I
like,
got the
know,
flu. I know
yeah,
what it's like.
yeah, like, oh yeah, like I know what you're going through. Like I'm so sorry. Like
Interesting.
Yeah,
no,
no,
you don't know.
I
what
didn't
I'm
have
going
anyone say
through.
that to me.
That's
Fortunately.
good. Yeah, that's good.
I didn't have anyone say like, "Oh, I know I know what you're going through." I had a lot of people say, "I don't know what you're going through." And that was fine. I was fine with that, you
Uh-huh.
know. I'm trying to think of if there were things said to me post transplant that I felt like was like, why would you say that? More around like the statistics. Like I got told by several friends, and all coming from the intention of like
Just-
good,
yeah.
but it sort of came across like, why would you tell me that? Like I had a lot of people say, oh, we knew someone who was going through their transplant same time as you, but they didn't make it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't
Yeah,
want
so
to tell
Not
you.
throw
Yeah.
out,
And it's
yeah.
like, well, why are you telling me now?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, yeah.
Just keep it positive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
just
think
be
that's
conscious.
a good
Just be
rule of
conscious.
thumb.
Yeah.
Just keep it light
Mhm.
Yeah.
and uplifting, right?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I agree. I feel like something that is a good piece of advice for caregivers too is bring a notepad. Like if you're gonna be if you're gonna be a main caregiver, or you are going to help in ways that's like assisting the patient at doctor's appointments, I think that that's a very valuable use of time to offer to go to an appointment, a doctor's appointment with a patient, if they want it, or be there when the doctor's there. So, because as the patient, you have serious chemo brain and you can't really concentrate on much, or you're nauseous, or you're not feeling good, or you're tired, or the list goes on, right? Of why you can't necessarily focus on everything, let alone this fact that you're facing a life-threatening deal.
Yeah.
I think caregivers are hugely important to provide sort of those additional ears for patients, because
Yep.
there were many appointments. My prep work, I had like an entourage, and
Yeah.
it was funny because my City of Hope, she was my prep nurse, Larissa. We came in, she's like, are all these people coming into the appointment with you? I was like, yeah, sorry.
All of these?
Making
Yeah, she
sure
was like,
nothing gets
wow,
by.
you roll deep. I was like, yeah, I know. I mean, I had my cousin.
Are you a rapper?
I know,
Yeah,
right? I was like, I'm
absolutely.
really important. I had my cousin, my aunt, Mark. I think my dad was there, or my brother was there. Like, there was like 5 people, which is not, you don't need 5 people. But at least one other person, I feel like, a lot of times Mark would say, you did not hear what Dr. O just said. I'm like, yes, I did. And he's like, no, you did not. So I think it's really, really helpful, to have those extra pairs of ears when you're going through any kind of cancer treatment, any kind of medical crisis. It's just overwhelming, all the information.
It is. I mean, yeah. I was never a very organized person before I got sick, so
Right.
all this medical stuff was so overwhelming that me and my mom couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
We just
It's a
let
lot.
it flow.
Right.
I just eventually just went to just faith.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I get that.
But I mean, don't get me wrong. It is important, and if you can have everything, notes taken, and
Yeah.
well heard, and lots of ears, and lots of minds. If you have that, it's that's a privilege. Like,
I agree.
Not everybody has
I
that.
agree. It's a privilege.
And,
Yes.
and it's recommended. It's highly recommended, because when I first got diagnosed, my family doctor in the hospital, and then I went to the first hospital and went to City of Hope. All of the doctors told me, Alex, as you go through this journey, try to keep all of the documents, try to keep notes and be aware of times and when you do what
Right.
procedures and whatever. But I did it, just like when I was in school. I did it for a little bit and then I just stopped.
Right.
And I was like, whatever. I
Yeah.
just, but phones are very important. 5 years later now, thinking back to my experience, a lot of times I go back to my phone and I find things that I either wrote down or picture, videos. Yeah,
I have pictures that I look back
helps.
at.
Yeah, it helps with you don't have to write everything down. You could just record.
Oh yeah.
Record stuff.
Recording
Yeah.
appointments is, I think that's actually
Using your phone.
really
You
helpful.
really utilize your phone for a
Totally,
lot of these.
totally.
Or medications like.
Yeah. Snap a picture of it.
This is the lazy way of.
It's not lazy.
Of
It's
logging.
just, I don't think it's lazy. I think it's using technology
Yeah.
the most efficient way.
Yes.
Like
and you could probably be even way more efficient than
totally
the way. I
totally. Oh
used
yeah,
to,
me
you know
too.
what I mean?
I'm not either.
Yeah. So
I feel like too, along with the phones, because we took a lot of notes on our phones and took pictures and I'm not sure if we recorded any appointments. I don't think we did because I always had multiple people there. But my caregivers, I feel like the nice thing that they did for me in appointments was they asked questions that I wasn't gonna ask.
Yeah.
I remember, and they asked, and I think I think sometimes patients get afraid to ask doctors, like, wait, what does that mean? Or I don't understand. And I wouldn't say that that's the case for everybody, but I think, certainly when you're talking to a doctor, there's either they can lose sight of their audience and they speak to you as if you should know half the stuff they're talking about. But it was helpful because, like, I would have people who would say, I have no idea what that means. Can you explain that? Or, so what does that mean when you say this? How is that going to affect Krissy? It was like things that I didn't have to worry about asking, even though they were in my head, but they would say it out loud for me.
Yeah.
I think that was
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think for caregivers, you should not be afraid to be that voice in the room. Because a lot of times the patient's not going to be that voice for themselves.
Right.
And the patient, especially like in your guys' case, your moms for sure would be speaking up because they'd be asking for their child, and the same way, like, my aunt did that a lot for me too. She'd be asking a lot of different things and she'd ask the nurses stuff and, so I feel like that's a really important encouragement to caregivers to do. Like, speak up.
Yeah.
Don't
Definitely.
be afraid.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you can be bossy as a caregiver and say, like, what you need to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really
Something
good
I
point.
felt like was really helpful.
Yeah, I think it's important to make the the patient feel like they're not alone. Like,
Oh, yeah,
just-
definitely.
I really felt like I didn't go through this alone, just
Right.
from all and it was just all the caregivers and
Yeah.
all the friends and all it was like a group effort to
Yes, totally.
to beat cancer.
I
or
feel the
stuff,
same way.
So
Group effort.
If you're not the one that's going through the disease or the cancer or whatever what you're going through, try to still feel like you're part, like, and you are. Like,
They
just
are,
believe
yeah.
that you are part of the victory and triumph of the person going through what they're going through.
Totally.
Your energy totally can boost them and make them better, or you could actually drag them down and make them worse.
Yeah.
Like, you decide as a person how much of your energy you want to, what kind of energy you want to give to and how much of a part of the battle you want to be.
Right.
Like, you know, all of my friends and family and people I ran into, they made me feel like they wanted to be a part.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
And
I feel like the only thing I went through alone was the physical part of it.
Right.
Like, I never felt, I really did feel like everybody was in it with me. Like, they were in deep, you know, like emotionally, and they were there physically, you know, visiting or writing letters or sending cards or texting me or emailing, whatever.
Yeah.
They were all there emotionally in it with me. So the only part that I went through by myself was the physicality of it. And literally just like the action, you know, standing there for the radiation or getting the chemo.
Yeah, I think if
That was really the
I think
only
that's
part.
how it should be if, you know, if you have that luxury of having that
Yes.
support system.
Yes.
I think the physical part, just, you know, receiving the chemo,
I mean, no one
the
else
procedures,
can go through that
right,
other
the
than you.
radiation, yeah.
So it's like, you know.
That should be the only thing you would have to worry about.
Right.
Everything else should be, hopefully, from
And I think
everyone else.
the three of us clearly were blessed with really loving families
Yeah.
and friends.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean you have to have 900 people in your corner, right? It
Yeah.
could be like one person.
Mm-hmm.
No, it
You know?
like I said earlier, it's the quality,
Not the quantity.
not the quantity.
Right.
It's not. Yeah.
I don't
How
want
many
patients on the other side listening, thinking, God, I don't have that many. I
No.
got, you know, it's not about that.
You could just
Mhm.
have one,
You have
One
one person.
solid,
Yeah.
you know, caregiver.
And if you don't have that person, we can be your people.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
could
no,
literally email us and we will be your support caregivers. Like,
yeah,
Exactly.
Nobody is ever in this alone.
No.
Like,
Or they
think
should be.
If anybody
Right.
if anybody
Doing it alone.
feels like they're alone, I would have to assume that it's because they're not willing to
by choice, maybe.
let people help
In,
them.
right.
Because this world, like, there's so much love and compassion from strangers that you just, if you don't believe it exists, you'll
Mhm.
never receive it because you don't open yourself up. But if you open yourself up, you'll be amazed to see
Yes.
how much
Comes your way.
comes
Mhm.
your way. And you just have to have, it's your mental attitude
Mhm.
towards, you know,
Well, and
towards-
that's such a great point you make, because not a lot, there's plenty of patients out there that don't want to talk about
Mm.
their situation, which is understandable. I mean, it's highly personal. It's, you know, it's overwhelming. A lot of times they don't want to talk about it because it's just too overwhelming to talk about. But to hide yourself from the support you could receive
Yeah.
out of fear of what you're going through, that I think is a mistake. And I think as a patient, letting people in, letting them know, hey, I'm facing this, and I can use all the good vibes and help that I can get, that's, you know, that's a very honest and, you know, very worthwhile ask, I think. And I would encourage patients who feel like, I don't want to talk about it to anyone, I don't want to share anything, I want to keep it all hidden. I would encourage them to reevaluate that, because we three have seen the power of having love and support and compassion and positive vibes from our group of friends and family.
And strangers.
And strangers.
Yeah,
lots
that
of
it
strangers.
can only help you.
Yeah.
It can only help you,
Yes.
you know?
We're social organisms. Like, all,
Mhm.
you know, we're social beings. Like,
Yeah.
you know, somebody gets sick, you're going to have a lot of people with compassion surrounding you to lift
Right.
you up. It's like, it's our animalistic, humanistic nature,
Totally.
you know, and if you don't open up yourself, you're missing out.
Right.
You're only, you know, ripping yourself off,
Right.
right?
It's part of the healing
Yeah,
process.
it's you're
You're gypping
just-
yourself. You're
yeah,
not taking your medicine.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're not
It is.
taking your
There's-
medicine, right?
Exactly. You can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would hope by sharing, if you're keeping it to yourself, and I hope by sharing it, I hope more good comes to you than harm.
Yeah.
Because from our experiences, I think sharing it, like we said, like it has opened up way more
Yes.
support and way more care
Yes.
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
So,
And this is another thing to somebody who's newly diagnosed or going through whatever, like yeah, never mind, I lost my thought. There's so much there.
You can use that for the rest of your life, I've decided. Brandon, it was 20 years ago
Yeah.
you hit your 20 mark.
on
Which was
on
amazing.
Monday. Wait, what's the date today?
Today's the 16th.
Yes,
Yeah, Monday.
Happy 20
On
20
Monday.
years. 20 years.
Post.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's amazing.
It is crazy.
You celebrated 20 years being cancer
I
free.
know. I can almost drink legally.
you
Wow. But yeah, I think you can use chemo brain for the rest of your life. So if you ever forget anything,
It's
you get to use it.
I remember what I was gonna say.
yeah, there.
Oh yeah, I forgot again. No, seriously.
You forgot. Well, I feel like I hope whoever's listening, I hope there were good tips, good ideas, encouragement,
I remember now. I'm not gonna forget. As a cancer survivor, I know just from experience and meeting with all other cancer survivors that we all want to help others that are going through what we went through.
Yeah.
So don't ever, like we said earlier, don't ever feel like you're alone. Like there are lots and lots of organizations and places
Yes.
and people and that you could find help. And I think it's very healing to find survivors that have gone through it, because
Yeah.
we can help.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
whether you believe it or not. I mean, if you're going through cancer, I would hope that after speaking to any one of us, you would feel better
Yeah.
after. You're definitely not going to feel worse.
No.
And
hope
there's millions of cancer survivors out there that are just waiting to be able to help somebody, but they just
Yeah.
they don't encounter it, or
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah, it is there. The support is there.
Yeah.
So support your friends, family, loved ones, whoever's going through it. Support them just by your presence, uplifting presence and patience. Ask for help. Ask for it. Open yourself up to it, right?
Yeah, and don't get offended too if they decline your help.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just not ready to,
Yeah.
Yeah,
put it out there. Like,
Totally.
be as understanding
Mhm.
and
Yeah, it's not
patient as
personal.
possible.
Yeah, it's definitely not
Yeah,
personal.
Not personal.
as-
Yeah.
Don't take anything
Yeah.
personal. Yeah.
No, don't take it personal. Just put it out there.
Mhm.
Because just the simple offer of being present, to visit or send something is a huge thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Give them their favorite stuff. Like
Yeah.
whatever
Penguins.
they want. Yeah.
Yeah,
Penguins and anteaters.
Yep. That's all you need.
Okay.
All right. Well, I don't know. That was pretty good.
Good luck,
You guys
everyone.
hit us up anytime.